David, it's good to see you again. I went back and looked at our previous video, the pricing strategy video. I don't know if you can see it behind me.
Yeah, those are some good-looking pictures back there, Mark.
Yeah, and I realized I think about a minute 30 in to the video, I'm still asking my question, and you had this look on your face like you're really bored. So I apologize. I will make sure that my questions are more succinct and to the point. So the talent, in this case yourself, does not feel boredom.
Well, you're too gracious, Mark. I'll work on my responses as well, because I know while I like listening to myself, others may appreciate more concise responses.
Oh, very okay. So it's agreed. Pinky promise.
It's on both of us, Mark, to do a better job today, be more clear and concise, get to the point.
And the other thing is I realized, like, with my glasses off, you still look younger than me. How is that possible?
Well, one, I am younger than you. Two, I probably take better care of myself. And three, the reason I do that is I drink plenty of fluid. I drink about 4 of these a day. This, for the viewers, is 32 ounces.
That's prune juice, right?
No, that was in the first one of the day. This one has apple cider vinegar, a little grape juice, rest water, and then my drink mixture of Aldi.
Ah, Aldi, the sponsor of this episode.
Not necessarily. Nope, not at all. Just one of the places I go to get my groceries.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So to our dear audience, we are here to talk about the August eGrocery sales numbers that David has hot at his fingertips. So I've gone through your summary at a high level, and I think there's a few things we can call out. But and then there's a few topical items I want to address at the end, some industry news, as this show morphs into something a little more contemporaneous. There's a word for you, David. Contemporaneous.
I'm looking for my dictionary, Mark.
There you go.
I don't have it around, but use the big words to gain leverage over me. Go ahead.
All right. So let's talk about August. Surprisingly, a rebound. To a lot, to many, but maybe not necessarily to you. In particular, Ship to Home, which is like Frankenstein's monster has new life.
Yeah, well, dead cat bounce.
Dead cat bounce. Do you think it's a one time? It's a one time.
No. I'm just throwing out other vernacular, Mark, to match your use of big words. That's all. Okay.
The words are simply a mask for insecurity. You know that.
Oh, that's fine. You're very well spoken, articulate, and intelligent. So
credit
without saying.
Credit to the Canadian education system.
There you go.
So let's talk about what looks like a rebound in Ship to Home. Tell me if this is true or not, and what do you think the contributors to this may be?
Well, you talked about the bounce that we had overall with e-commerce growing almost 9% year over year. Mm-hmm. Now, it was really driven by only 2 of the 3 segments, obviously pickup and ship to home. Ship to home was surprising, even to me, as I looked at that. Again, as I've told you, Mark, I don't look at the final results until all the data has been processed, QC'd, and that. And one hypothesis, and again, it could be a testable hypothesis, is that given the deliveries order volume was down, their sales were essentially flat, slightly negative. The hypothesis would be for those households that maybe discontinued or didn't use delivery as much as in the past, some of that demand for specific items transferred over to ship to home. And the reason I say that, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so what are the economics of delivery versus ship to home?
Well, that's a complex question because it depends on the model that we're looking at, right? I mean, you take an example of Target, who is now using its store to fulfill 95% of all digital originated orders.
Yeah.
And then they send it to a sortation center. That sortation center, where they have them, which I believe there's about a little less than a dozen now, they bundle them and then batch them out to ship drivers. They do have others where they're now working to batch out higher volumes of orders together in a dedicated van, but that's not through the gig model. That's more first party delivery operated. For Walmart, which is increasingly moving that way, but further behind Target, it's much different. So the economics can really swing considerably based on those models and those efficiencies you build with the densities and the various levels of the distribution chain. But, when you think about items that may be moving between ship to home and delivery, depending on where a household is buying, when they're buying online, take detergent or household cleaning supplies, the cost to serve in the ship to home model for a single item, when you look at that variable cost, is going to be much higher on a unit basis compared to delivery, recognizing that one item is one amongst many, maybe 40 or 50. So the variable cost is commensurately lower. So, there's that. But the reason I was going to say with the softening in demand for delivery is that we saw the opposite happen early in the pandemic. We had people who had been using ship to home and then discovered delivery, home delivery, or curbside pickup, at the store, and subsequently shifted some of their demand away from ship to home into those other two receiving methods. An example or evidence of that was Target discontinuing their subscription service, mainly, we believe, because of that shift in demand. So if that is true, then the opposite can happen. That is, as demand shifts or wanes in another method, some of those households may revert to an earlier method to receive very particular items, right?
So you don't think there's anything, and again, the ship to home is mainly Amazon's contributor to these numbers. Is there anything that Amazon has done of late to encourage more ship to home, which is, to your point, taking the demand for away from the delivery segment?
From a firsthand perspective, nothing from my vantage point would indicate that. There are cases now where they may be shipping to the store for pickup. So that still constitutes ship within the framework of ship to home. That is a shipped product.
Okay.
Although it's no longer shipped to home, it's shipped to the store. We are seeing in certain instances, especially with Amazon, and again, Amazon is over half of the ship to home segment based on the market share report we released not too long ago. So some of it could be that consumers are seeing the convenience of using the ship to store for pickup as a way to bundle, two different trip missions. One for a particular item that may be hard to find that a person really wants, which is what ship to home can do. And two, do your in-store shop or actually do a grocery pickup order at the same time. Now that really would only focus on Amazon because Target and Walmart are both focusing on delivering their shipped products to the home still.
Okay, let's move on to another data point in the report, which is the mass versus supermarket segments, and there's a divergence in some of the indicators, like monthly active user base and order frequency. Can you elaborate what factors are contributing to that split?
Yeah, so mass continues to just report, blowout gains in monthly active users. Again, they're reporting close to 20%, not quite, while grocery, on the other hand, is, contracting, in this case, over 10%.
Yeah.
We sound like a broken record, but, the times that we're in, the financial times that we're in, is really driving this flight to value. And Walmart is uniquely positioned in this market today. And they're not completely immune, but they're more immune than many others. And that's in part because they have broad appeal across income levels. Someone like Aldi is also doing very well right now, but they don't have as strong appeal with the upper income, although it's growing, and their remodels have contributed greatly to that. But for those people who are in the lower middle income or lower income, which is about 70% of the U.S. households, those households are really trying to stretch a buck now. Even with inflation receding, purchasing power remains constrained. And Walmart, without question, in the minds of the consumer, is the everyday low price leader. Although, in fairness to Aldi, Aldi matches or beats Walmart in store. Online, it's a little different today. So I think Walmart just is sitting in a spot today that no one else occupies, especially relative to its supercenter discount segments, that is just really driving this. Now, that doesn't even say anything about the strategies that Walmart is pursuing, right? Which are very sound for their business. Their retail media is continuing to accelerate. The number of sellers that they're driving on through expansion of the marketplace, as well as their media efforts, is really adding to the wins that are pushing them forward. But at the heart of it, it's just households in search of a better deal or trying to conserve cash.
Do you think there was any impact from the back to school period on the split?
In terms of the split, I'm not sure, other than and I say I'm not sure because we don't look at that specifically. However, if we had to speculate, I would say absolutely it would, because mass is generally better positioned as the back to school provider in terms of the range of things that people want. I mean, if they're college age, you're talking about, general merchandise items like TVs and other electronics and computers beyond grocery. And so that appeal will help attract more during this. eGrocery has those sections. They're just not as broad or as extensive as someone like a Walmart.
Right. The other key data point in this supermarket mass axis is the cross shopping rates, and they've more than doubled since pre-COVID. Can you how do you interpret this increase in cross shopping, and what implications should it have for regional grocers specifically?
Regional grocers should recognize that this simply reaffirms that their customers are also Walmart's customers. And the more cross shop that occurs, the more chances there are for that customer to see differences in the value proposition. Now, those differences aren't just going to stop at what does a basket of goods cost in total at Walmart versus the regional grocer, but rather how did the quality of the service and all the elements or dimensions that entails compare between the two. And one of the things that's working to the advantage of the mass retailers like Walmart or Target is, again, as they continue to grow their volume, that really supports beefing up their staffing levels, which improves their service levels in terms of speed of service or wait times at the store compared to that of a grocer. So the idea that the element of convenience is also leaning more in their favor is something that's not lost on Walmart. I think Walmart in their last quarterly call really did talk about the value, the convenience aspects that its business is providing to its consumers, in addition to helping them save money, right? This is where saving time actually does come into play, because no one wants to wait longer than necessary, whether it's a product that you have shipped to your house or you drive into the parking lot to wait for a pickup order. So, there's aspects of the experience that customers can now experience that may be different at mass versus grocery. And that could be just simply one more reason why some of those customers are switching. And we would assume the straw that breaks the camel's back would be those who are really trying to stretch the buck. And because no regional grocer is really able to compete in any way on price when most regional grocers are 10 percentage points higher or more when it comes to that basket.
Right. So before we jump into another topic, which I want to address, is there anything else that was surprising in the August numbers that you want to touch on?
Well, I think if we want to give a little good news for grocery is that when we look at the repeat rates, which is our likelihood to reuse the same service the next month, we did see the gap between Walmart and regional and supermarkets, or grocery, I should say, narrow. Walmart and Target and the rest of the mass still enjoy a lead, but it does demonstrate that the experiential aspects of retaining customers is improving at regional grocers or grocery in general, which is a positive. I just think as they look at that, they need to continue to find ways to not only help the customers find it a more pleasurable experience or acceptable alternative to shopping in store or elsewhere, but they also need to help the customers find more ways to save money, right? And that may be through the personalization of the recommendations or the digital deals or other things for that matter.
Yeah, that's a great point. So there, hope is not lost. There are means to compete and retain portion of the basket that you at least acquired during the heyday of the pandemic.
Yeah, and I think I heard this over the weekend watching football that football teams lose games, they don't win games.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing with customers. Grocers may attract new customers, but that's really a function of someone losing that customer. And conversely, grocers are not losing customers to mass because mass attracted them with some deal, but rather that grocer gave them a reason to consider
not
their
to
alternatives.
Come back. Yeah.
Right? I mean, whether it was an out of stock or whether it was pricing or whether it was poor service during the fulfillment of the order. And so just trying to minimize the negatives could help reduce, customer attrition to a degree. It can't eliminate it because the pricing component is largely outside of the control of the regional grocers, because no regional grocer is going to lower their prices to a point where they're going to be able to match. And even if they do, I would argue, I'm not sure they would get full credit for that.
Yeah.
So you had some other questions off the top of your mind, topical questions?
Topical. So as we record this, news broke that CNS is now the bidder for the 400 odd stores that will be offloaded in the Kroger-Albertsons deal, with an option on another 200. What do you make of this? Is this now the dawn of a new national player coming on the scene?
Well, I think CNS hasn't made their retail ambitions unknown before. They have made some changes in the executive ranks. They've made some comments relative to this effect. And so we've seen them through some earlier acquisitions from a variety of companies, primarily in the Northeast, that they were expanding their focus toward retail. So it's a huge win for CNS to grab so many stores, distribution centers, and offices in this deal. Obviously, it's beneficial to the merger to help clear some of the hurdles that the FTC has in place. It doesn't remove them all, but it does help mitigate it. I think, CNS has been in business to help and support independent grocers. I think Piggly Wiggly is an example of one that they acquired, right?
Yep.
Piggly Wiggly Midwest.
Correct.
I don't have a crystal ball in terms of whether this means they're going to put them under a single banner. I mean, these stores are everywhere through the country. There's some in Illinois. There's actually some in Virginia. Most of them are in the West and in the Southwest, as expected. But still, there's large pockets of stores in certain areas, and then a lot of spread. So I don't know how they're going to integrate them. It will be interesting to see. CNS is an incredible wholesaler.
Yep.
So, time will tell, I guess.
Very good. And on that note,
But now, from your perspective, maybe the folks would like to hear. Do you have any opinion on you? I'm the American, you're the Canadian. What do you see from the north?
It's a good question. I would say, rumors had been that a player was coming into the western half of the U.S. to acquire some of these offloaded stores. So I think it's an competition is a good thing, and it's good also that CNS is promising to stay true to the union contracts that are already in place. So that's awesome, and I think we're going to see some movement in terms of players, personnel, who are in some established retailers looking for new opportunities in whatever entity this business CNS is or acquires. So
yeah, and I don't know what it means for their wholesale business, but as they move out west like that, depending on the distribution they already have or don't have out there, and I don't know that. We could see other moves relative to supply chain agreements that could also change the landscape and make the independents potentially more cost competitive.
Exactly. We're on the cusp of Grocery Shop 2023. I think it's shaping up to be another monumental, let me put it that way, session on the calendar. Oh, my screen just went. We just lost you, David. Sorry.
I'm here.
Unfortunately, you won't be attending Grocery Shop, although I've encouraged you to attend in the past. What would you be looking for in terms of announcements from that event? What do you expect in the next couple of weeks?
I'm not sure I'm expecting anything other than, a lot of companies would use that event, and it's grown to be a marquee event in the industry to publicize or promote, accomplishments that they're making. So what I expect next week would be a flurry of press releases from various companies around the event to kind of add energy to what they're doing.
Come on, David. What speculation? Speculate.
I don't generally speculate, Mark. I leave that to others. What would I be doing at Grocery Shop? Well, primarily talking to retailers or visiting retail stores. That would be what I would be doing if I were going to it. But again, I have other things I need to be working on, so I'm going to be staying close to home and keeping my nose down and staying out of trouble.
So I think the last part's the key point.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are you working on, David? What's coming up?
Well, we are about ready to kick off our annual sales performance benchmarking initiative, Mark.
No, really?
Yes, you know that. Yes, Mercatus is once again very generous in their thought leadership and their financial support. We appreciate. And we're going to mix it up a little bit this year. And tighten the focus mainly on the regional grocers. We really want to provide the type of relevant benchmarks that they've requested in the past. We really want to focus on the business questions that are really topical today. Mm-hmm. They haven't changed dramatically, but again, the landscape keeps evolving. So to have your finger on the pulse at least once a year in this regard, especially given that there isn't another widely available resource that I'm aware of. That's something we're going to be kicking off this month and delivering by November. So we're looking forward to that once again, because there's always new learnings for us. And again, as you know, Mark, this is really designed and intended to be, insights to help the regional grocers examine their business from a different context so that they can better understand where those opportunities may lie in their respective businesses. So we don't go through telling everyone what to do in a generalized fashion. That's not our way we roll. But rather, we want to engage in more meaningful dialogue with them to explore what it means to them and help them move the ball forward.
Grocery retailers, as you know, are an incredibly competitive bunch, and they love to know where they stack up against their competitors. And I think this benchmark, although you don't disclose who's who to the participants. It is indicative of areas that are trending in the positive, and where certain retailers need to make some improvements in order to grow their business. And I think it's a really valuable report overall.
Yeah, and I'd add, retailers are also proud, and rightfully so. They're proud of the things they've accomplished and what they're working on. They believe in their strategies, and again, they should. But what's really exciting for me, one of the things we always talk about, Mark, is interrogating the insights. Sometimes I turn that interrogation to the retailer, in challenging assumptions. And that is really important because we involve people that, they're back. Have you seen them, right? This is like an Amber Alert. It's like the Pennsylvania prison breakout, except I can't climb a wall like that guy. Definitely not. And he was less than 6 foot too. But I digress. Sorry, Mark. You pointed at the pictures. So I'm going to try to rein my thoughts back to where I was saying. What I like about it is back to the retailer. The scope of the retailers, ranges from retailers who've been in this business for over a decade to just a couple years, if not less than a couple years. It involves retailers who are involved across all three segments, which includes ship to home, and that's very rare in the conventional or regional grocer space. Mm-hmm. But also some that are only playing in one, like delivery. So it can be very eye-opening for those respective retailers to get a broader view that puts theirs in context, right? And it reinforces some of the points we've continued to make over the years about the importance of being in both pickup and delivery to serve the broadest addressable market possible because of that strong preferences. And ultimately, as you know, again, Mark, it's a basis to have a conversation and then to engage with retailers in meaningful dialogue based on that. Because obviously, when someone looks at their performance, they would like to think they're the best. And when they're not, they like to understand what may be different. Yeah. Yep. And then as we start that exploration, it starts raising questions that we can then bundle together as testable hypothesis that can be, put out into an initiative to verify that ultimately could become part of their broader strategy for e-commerce or omnichannel going forward. So it's really just the starting point for what we aspire to be a much more expansive engagement going forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, Mercatus is super excited to be able to help bring this to the industry. David, grocery retailers should be expecting communication from you imminently.
Yes,
and soliciting and participation.
I would say so. If they don't hear from either me or you, because in some cases you're reaching out to some of your retailers in your network, both current and prospect customers. Mm-hmm. If there is a retailer who hears this and has some interest in it, please reach out to me, or Mark, and he'll get you in touch with me. You can ask for my email if you want, but I think by now most people probably have it. But here it is, david.bishop@brickmeetsclick.com.
You had to get that in. Thank you, David. It's been great. I got to call it. Okay. People who watch the clock are going to be telling us to cut it short. See you next time.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye-bye.